Today we're going to be working on a landscape, and I want to show you the brushes that we're going to use. One is a regular old fan brush. This is one of the most useful tools you can possibly have on hand, and I really recommend you get one. I'm using a hog hair brush, which is very stiff but very useful for moving around paint. And then I've got a 2-inch house painting brush. I really recommend one made with natural hair bristles because synthetics cause the paint to streak. But if you can find one made with synthetics that works well for you, then by all means. Next, I've got a 1-inch house painting brush. This is going to be used for a lot of foliage, and it's pretty much the same as the 2-inch house painting brush. Again, natural hair bristles are the bristles I recommend. Aside from that, I have 2 painting knives. One is a smaller painting knife, and then the other is a larger version that has a much wider blade. They're very much the same, but one is for bigger areas and the other is for smaller areas. Okay, now what I've got here is a cotton canvas. I really don't think that you need to paint with fancy linen or anything like that. What you need though is a double primed cotton canvas. And what I've done with this canvas is I've taken about 3 parts titanium white oil paint and combined it with about 1 part linseed oil. And I made a very loose version of titanium white and I spread it all over the canvas, keeping it very thin. Very, very thin. You do not want a thick layer, but you want just enough to get the canvas nice and slick so that the paint goes on easy. It really depends on the consistency of your titanium white, but whatever it takes to get it to a nice, loose consistency that's not too thin and not too thick, that's what you should do. Maybe sometime later I'll show you how to do that. Now, what do you say we get out, let's get out the 2-inch brush. And now let's paint us a sky. I think I'm just gonna pull out a little bit of phthalo blue. Nothing too big here. And I'm gonna tap the paint on the bristles because I want the paint to be evenly distributed. I want to keep it very thin. Very thin. I do not want too much phthalo blue on this brush. If you get too much phthalo blue on the brush, it's gonna overcome the entire painting. And boy, your entire painting is just gonna wind up blue. Now, what I want to do is I just want to pick a spot up here and crisscross strokes. I want to put in a thin area of blue. Now, this composition I think is going to be about 3/4 or so. So I'm not going to cover all this area over here, but I want to cover enough of it that I can paint over it later on. And notice how the blue is just turning lighter and lighter against this titanium white that I've applied to the canvas. Now over here, on the edges of the sky, away from where you're looking at, as it gets closer to you, the sky gets a little darker. So I'm going to pull out a little bit more phthalo blue and just brush it on over here. There. And now it looks like as the sky is getting closer, it's getting darker. That happens because of the diffusion of light and the pollution in the air. Now I want to take that same phthalo blue and I want to brush in some water down here. So what I'll do is just pull it in from the edge and pull it in. At the edge, pull it in. And automatically, those water streaks are created. And you want to try to keep it about level with the canvas as you're pulling it across. If you pull across at an angle, it's not going to look right. So, get a little bit on your brush and pull it directly across. And if you do get the angle a little wrong, you can just go to the side and pull it again to correct it. There. Now over here, I don't want to do anything to that, I don't think, because there's going to be a big landmass over there. I don't want to don't want to ruin all the streaks I've got. I just want to keep it. Ooh, I'm gonna pull a little bit more phthalo blue on there, just like the sky, just right on the edge. There. That's more interesting. Down here, there. Get a little bit more phthalo blue. There. That's good. Beautiful. Let's clean off the brush now. What I like to do is to dip my brush into odorless turpentine, and I can't stress that enough. Odorless turpentine. If you use real turpentine, it's going to make your family and your loved ones very miserable very fast. So use odorless turpentine. And after I dip my brush, I wipe it on the grating at the bottom of the can. And what I recommend for you is to get some paper towels and wipe it off on that. But what I do is I take my brush and then I shake it off in a trash bag to get all that excess off. And then I beat it against the leg of my easel to get it all dried off. Obviously, I don't recommend any of that for you because your living room is going to get very messy if you try doing that. Okay, what I think I want to do now is I want to get, say a fan brush, and I'm gonna, let's get a palette knife first. What the heck? Let's get a little bit of, say Prussian blue, there, and a little bit of lizard crimson. Get a little bit more lizard crimson than Prussian blue. Prussian blue is a very, very strong color. And then I think I'm going to get a little bit of Van Dyke brown on that. There, that's good. Just to dull down that mix a little bit. Okay, that's about good. Don't want to mix it up too much. Now, I'm going to put my palette knife down. And I'm going to get my fan brush. And I'm going to wave it through both ways. Just wave it through. And I'm going to get paint on both sides of the bristles. Okay? Now, what I want to do on this little landmass back here is I'm going to start putting trees in just wherever I think they should go. Because there's a landmass back here. In Michigan, and this is a Michigan landscape by the way, in Michigan we don't have too many hills. Or at least we don't have too many mountains. We have a lot of hills, but we don't have too many mountains. So most of the terrain here is pretty flat. And what I'm doing is I'm just tapping in all these things with my brush, creating more interesting shapes where I think they should be. And when I start to get some lighter color, I'll get some more color so that it gets darker. But I don't want it to get too dark. I want it to be relatively light, because this is in the background, and things as they go back, as they recede into the background, they get ever so bluer, don't they? They certainly do. And Michigan is no different. And this is about as good as I want it to get. Okay. What I might do is just get a little bit more green in there. Get some sap green on the brush, wave that back and forth. That's good. And I'll tap that in just to make things a little more interesting. There. There we go. And that's about as much as I want. Now, with my dry 2-inch, I want to tap the bottom of this and just mist it out. And we're pressing pretty firmly on this, pretty firmly. If I need to, I'll just shake off the excess, just like that, and I'll keep tapping. I want to diffuse the bottom of this, but I don't want to lose all of it. Okay? Now let's blend it ever so delicately. I can pull this down here and just go across to create the reflection. And then I think we'll take a little bit of titanium white and go just press it in to where I think the water line is going to be. It's about there. And if it's a little higher than your sky, don't worry, because this is going to be a big landmass over here and it's going to cover a lot of things. We're not too worried at this point about how things are going. Okay, tell you what, this is going to be a big landmass, so let's get a lot of phthalo blue. Let's get a lot of alizarin crimson. And it doesn't matter if you have more alizarin crimson or more phthalo blue. Any old way you want, it doesn't really matter. A little bit of Van Dyke brown too. And what else do I want? Maybe a little bit of black. Why not? A little bit of black. Why not, right? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover a whole lot of area now. I'm going to begin down here. And I'm just going to go wherever I think all my land masses are going to be. So I'm going to press pretty firmly. Push right into that canvas. There. And look how the shape of trees is already being suggested. And when I need more paint, I can always go back to that mix I made and I can start making more shapes. You can go as slow or as fast as you need to. See, if I need more paint, I can go down and mix a little bit more. It does not matter if I need a little bit more, as long as the colors remain the same. It adds a little bit of interest even if you get a different ratio of colors in your mix. More phthalo blue, more alizarin crimson, more Van Dyke brown, a little bit of black, just like that. Ooh. Okay, get a lot of that. Now we're going to go on again. And we're going to go on. And I'm going to go, how far do I want to take this? Let's say over this way. And just by changing the angle of your brush, you can determine the lay of the land. And I'm going to go all the way over here, all the way over here. Okay. Go over here. Grab a little bit more color. And decide how far you want to take it. And wherever the darker areas are in your painting, you can go back and get more paint and insert that. It is okay to get more color. As a rule though, you always want to mix more color than you think you need, because even when you think you have as much color as you need, you tend to not have enough. Oh, it always seems to be the case, doesn't it? Now let's go back over here. There. Suggest some things out this way. Maybe some little land masses, some little bushes there. Just by changing the angle of the brush, you can change the lay of the land. There. Put it right in there. Get a little dark there, and you can see how the white is causing this dark gray color to get lighter and lighter. Wherever you think you need more darks, just insert them. It doesn't matter. Wherever. Wherever you think they should be. It's okay. Okay. Right up here, get a little bit more. I want to get this landmass just a little bit further. I want this landmass to be a little darker up here so that it pushes this area back. There. There. That's the way. Have those little branches just sticking out. There. Things are real dark and real indistinct at this point. And that's okay. To make a tree, you get your dark color, and then you press the brush into the canvas so that the bristles bend up, okay? And then that creates all kinds of interesting little patterns automatically because of the bristles. And then you turn the brush depending on the shape of the tree you want to make. And then you press again, and that creates more interesting things. You turn it again, and that creates more interesting leaf shapes. And notice how that this happens more or less automatically when you do it this way. All kinds of interesting tree shapes without even trying. It's amazing the way that works. Okay. And you just keep pressing as much as you need to until you have all the dark areas that you want. What we're doing now is we're just blocking in shapes. We are not worrying too much about color. We're not worrying too much about value. We just want things to be dark, and we want things to be blocked in. And that way, once we finally get to the highlights, things will happen pretty much automatically for us without even thinking about it. It is really amazing how this works. What a great way of painting. Okay. And the same thing is true for creating the lay of the land. You want to press so the bristles bend up, and then that automatically will create all these interesting little shapes that look like little blades of grass, little bushes. Let's clean that brush off. Now, with all that land blocked in, let's take a 1-inch brush and pull out a little bit of cadmium yellow. And I want to dull that down a little bit with some yellow ochre, maybe a little bit of, maybe a little bit of black. There. Don't want it to be too bright, because I do want it to push back a little bit. So after we've got that, we can start the act of painting all the highlights. What I do after I add that black to my yellow, is I pull my brush across all that paint. I pull it, and then maybe I add a little bit of yellow ochre. I pull it. Now I've got, ooh, so much paint on that brush. And what I can do now, I'm going to do the same sort of pressing motion, where I press my brush so the bristles bend up. And what I do is I just tap it. There. There. And I go wherever I think there should be a highlight, like, maybe right here, right there. Just by tapping it, I can create all kinds of interesting shapes. This is how we do it. And as the color gets darker while you're tapping, you can go down and get a little more paint. And then you can begin again. Just tap. Whatever you think the shape should be. And don't destroy all the dark areas. You want to keep some of those dark areas there, or else, well, things aren't going to look as good as you hope. Get a little bit more, let's get a little bit of Indian yellow in there just to mix things up a little bit. It's good to vary the color of all these things. It just keeps things interesting. Get a little bit of yellow ochre in there, a little bit of Indian yellow maybe. You can vary the ratio, make all kinds of interesting little things happen. There. That's interesting. You can even use your 2-inch brush for this. You just pull it out, get lots of paint on there, and then all those things just happen. And you can keep it real dark on the side where you don't want there to be much light. Pull it out. There. Just let all those interesting things happen. Just let all those interesting things happen. There. Okay. And if you ever do destroy some dark areas, you can just tap them back in with the original mix that you made. It'll be a little bit lighter because you're mixing a little bit of that yellow color in there. But it will be a boon to you to have some more values. There. That's not looking too bad. What I want to do now, just clean that off. Okay, let's pull out a little bit more cadmium yellow. Get lots of it on the brush. There. Now, let's decide how we want to do this. Let's put, start right here. Just press and let it happen. Press and let it happen. And follow where your land is going. That is the lay of the land. Follow the lay of the land. When you press your brush up like this, bending the bristles, interesting things will just happen. Little blades of grass will form, little bushes even. Depends how you angle your brush, because my land curves ever so slightly downward as I go toward the edge here. So I gotta press my brush and then turn it so that it doesn't get too flat. We do have some round masses in Michigan. There's a little bit of roundness to everything, but, well, not a lot. And tap it in a bit more. There. Make things interesting. There we go. Some of these bits I'm going to get with my 1-inch brush later. Right now I just want to tap in all the bits that I have to cover. There. That's looking pretty interesting so far, I think. Let's get a little bit more over here. Ooh, there. That is looking good. Really liking the way that landmass is turning out over here. Don't forget a little bit right there. Yeah. That's the stuff. Get a little bit more cad yellow. Okay. I think what I want to do now is I want to take my short palette knife and I want to carve out a tree. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape away some of the paint that I put on the canvas, and then I'm going to paint in the tree that way with my larger knife. So let's go right about here, and we'll just take out a little bit of that all the way down here, and yep, just like that. Oh, I know what you're saying now. Sulkever, you've ruined it. You've ruined it. I know. Sulkever, you're getting yourself in all kinds of trouble. Oh, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go right here too. And go right down here. And I'll tell you what, before I go to the next part, let's go right up here. There. I want to leave some interesting spaces. Go right down there. Scrape a little bit of that off. Good. This is an interesting exercise in negative painting, isn't it? I'll say. You feel real bad while you do it. Okay. Ooh. Ooh. These are some hard decisions. After painting all that, I am just removing it like it's no big deal. Oh boy. I'm really putting myself in trouble now. Let's get another branch up there. Oh. Okay. This is a really big tree, so we're not quite done yet. I know you're thinking, Sulkever, stop it, you've done enough. But no, I haven't. I have not gone far enough with this yet. You'll see. You'll see how far I need to go. You'll see how far I need to go. Let's see. There. Go right up in here. Over here. There. Ah, look at all that paint I'm taking off. I might have painted a little too thickly this time around. Maybe that's why the trees were a little harder. I need to paint a little thinner next time. A little thinner. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. And if you do make a mistake, don't worry about it. Just try to work with it. If you worry about mistakes as you're going along and you get flustered over it, boy, you're never going to be able to paint. You just got to roll with all the punches. Got to roll with them. Make it work. There. Am I quite done yet, do you think? Ooh, I don't know. I better go down here and get a little bit more. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, that hurts taking that one out. Oh, yeah, it does. This is straight up masochism, I think. Let's go up here and take a little bit of air. There. This is a really interesting tree, isn't it? It's really shaping out to be. Now, what do I want to do here, do you think? What do I want to do? Oh, I don't want to get too complicated, I don't think. But what I do want to do is clean the brush off. Or not the brush, but the palette knife. And then I want to get my big palette knife and get out a little bit of, say, Van Dyke brown. I want to go across, get a little bit of that. Pull it out, though. Pull it out. That's too much paint. There. And if I get a little bit of some other colors in the meantime, that's okay, too. Let's just pull that out and then cut across. There. Let me show you. Cut across. Get a nice roll of paint. And then we can go all along and just apply the dark where we need it. We use a wide palette knife because it covers a lot of area in a very short amount of time. And that's exactly what I want right now. I'm not too worried about the time, but I do want to do it quickly because we don't want to be here all day, now do we? No, we do not. Got things to do, other paintings to paint. Okay. This painting is going to take up a lot of Van Dyke brown, I can tell already. I just scooped up a lot of it and I'm just slathering it on. Just a whole mess of Van Dyke brown. I don't want to paint it too thick though, so I'm going to scrape off a little bit. I'm going to try to keep it nice and even. So a little bit, a little bit. I don't want to overdo it. If I overdo it, it might not look as good. It's okay if I pull it out and create some jagged edges because trees aren't exactly even, are they? Nah, no they aren't. So, there. There we go. I always want to extend my branches farther than I need to because I can always cover them up later, and I'm going to. Whatever angle you need to use your knife to get this brown all over your tree trunks is the one you should use. It doesn't matter if you go one way or another. Whatever way you need to use is totally fine. It's not a big deal. It is all about what's easy for you. And what's easy for me is creating this tree with a palette knife. It's such a good way to learn how to use the palette knife too. Really gets you used to the motion. Palette knives can be very frustrating to use when you first use them, but with a little practice you'll get it. And this is a fantastic way to practice. This is a good introduction to all the techniques that we're going to use. Well, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. Shows how to use the fan brush a little bit. Shows you how to use the palette knife, how to get used to the 1 and 2 inch brushes. It's a good basic introduction all around, I think. Obviously, we're going to use the tools in different ways as we go along, but this just gets you a little acclimated to it. There. I think that's about where I want to go with it for right now. Tell you what, I want to insert some dirt over there, so let me wipe off my palette knife real quick. And just scrape out a few things over here. And I want to show some bare ground there. Carved off a few areas. Now let's get a little bit of Van Dyke brown over there. There. Wherever. That's good. That's where I like it. Okay. Add a little bit of white to that Van Dyke brown over here. Get a little bit there. Maybe, yeah, just a little bit more Van Dyke brown in there. And let's make things interesting. Just brush it from the side to side. It'll automatically create all kinds of interesting ground like stones and stuff. Let it break. Let it break. Let it break. Don't worry about it, just let it break. Let it break over here too. There. And now you got some dirt. Actually, let's get a little bit right here. A little bit right here. There. Yeah. There. That's good. That's good. Don't want to do any more. Now, let's get the small palette knife and go over here. And what I want to do is I want to scratch out the shape of a dock. Because if you ever go to Michigan, especially the more northern parts, but they're pretty much everywhere. Everywhere you see water in the state, there are a lot of docks, believe you me. And I want to get one right over here. Yeah, that's about the shape I want. That's about as much as I want. I want it to be angling this way a little bit, so just there. Just like that. Okay. Take a little bit of Van Dyke brown. Pull it out, cut across so that we got a little bead of paint on the end, and then we'll just drag it. Got about the shape I want from this dock. Now remember, according to the rules of perspective, that this is going to be angled toward this way because the vanishing point is way back in the distance. The horizon line is about right here. So we want to create a dock that's going to be about yay direction. Now, perspective doesn't have to be perfect because it's a landscape and things are always all askew in a landscape, but you can still get it in the ballpark. Let's get a little bit of burnt umber on that. And this is going to be kind of a fiery dock. Not too much though. I want to dull it down with a little bit of that Van Dyke brown. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, now let's just tap the boards in very gently. With that mix of burnt umber and Van Dyke brown. Get a little bit more as you need. And there. And for for the bottom of it, that's facing away from the light source, we can use a little bit of blue to make things a little sadder, a little grayer, and that works well enough. There. Let's just create a little bit of a reflection on the water. There. That's good. That's good. Doesn't need any more than that. Sharpen the edges a little. There. And I want to create some posts in this dock. Not too many. What? Let's put one right there. And one right here. That's nice. And then we'll create one over here. There. And one right there. And one right here. Put it right over that yellow. And then another one right there. Again, over the yellow. There. Here. Let's cover that. There, that's good. Yeah, let's cover that. There. Get a little bit more. And we'll paint one last set of posts right here. That's nice. And then another one. Very simple. Very simple. Don't forget to extend it into the water. Just a little bit. Extend it into the water. Very good. Now we can take a little bit of that same color, a little bit of the burnt umber, a little bit of white. And we'll just tap along the edges to indicate where we think the light is. Tap along the edges, and that'll indicate where the light is, or where we think the light is. We don't have to do too much on this one. And let's just indicate the light on that last post, and this post too. There. Got these posts in the water here. Let's just give it the lightest touch. Down to the water, down to the water, down to the water, and then light touch. Brush to the side, brush to the side, brush to the side. There, brush to the side. Now what I want to do for the post is give it a little bit of a waterline. A little bit of a waterline. Okay, pull things out, cut across, and just give it a touch, give it a touch, give it a touch, give it a touch. There. Now I think I want the shape of a boat, because everybody's got a boat in Michigan. It seems like you go up north, there's boats every place. You go into the rich areas around here, all kinds of people have boats. Heck, when I was a kid, we used to have a boat, but we sold it because we didn't use it that much. And I think there's going to be a boat. It's going to be kind of on the land here, so it's going to be drifting right about... Ooh, it's going to be about here. There. That's about the shape of my boat right there. That's a good shape. Now, I like that. I like that. There. Now, let's pretend that there, part of the boat is going into the water. So, not all of it is going to be visible. Obviously, we're going to have a reflection down there. Now, what I want to do is I want to get a little bit of Van Dyke Brown, of course. Seems like Van Dyke Brown goes into everything, doesn't it? Well, it is one of the most useful colors there is, not going to lie. You cannot go wrong with a little bit of Van Dyke Brown and things. And we'll just put it all over there. Just press it real hard into the canvas, very firmly. Very firmly. Do not baby it. Let this particular area know who's boss. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Now, boats can be all kinds of different colors and stuff, but I kind of want to do something a little bit more interesting. What I think I want to do is I want to take a little bit of the burnt umber, bring it over here, and ooh, let's be brave. Let's be brave. I'm going to get a little bit of this Naphthol red. We haven't really seen this one yet. It's very strong, so just use a little of it. Use too much of it, boy, things are gonna get crazy. Oh yeah, they are. In fact, I think they might have gotten crazy. Dear, I got a little too wild with my color. All right. Now, let's try to go over this, and the shape is going to be pretty round with a little bit of dark at the bottom. So I'll go over it with my light first. There. 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 A little bit of light. Okay. And then a little bit of red. And a little bit of white. Not much. A little bit of white. Just a little bit. There. Just a little bit. There. Now, let's pretend that we can see the edge. There. And there's another edge down here. There. Now, a little bit more of the burnt umber. A little bit more of the burnt umber. And a little bit of the red. Go down here, touch the edges, touch the edges. Now let's just take off a little bit of excess. Take off a little bit of excess. And just add a little bit here and there to define things. There. That's good. A little bit down here too. There. Hey, we can get a little bit. Okay, we can get a little bit of that so that it blends as it goes up. Boy, doesn't that ever look nice. There. Now we've got ourselves a nice little boat there. We can get out the 2-inch brush, pull it down. Actually, pull it a little down a little bit more. There. 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 Not too much. There. Now, and create a little bit of a shadow over here too. There. Create a little bit of reflection. Pull it down and push it to the side. Not too much. Not too much. There. And with that same knife that you used to create it, you can take a little bit of white and create some water lines. There. That's nice. Very good. Take a little bit of our yellow color. And we can just create some little things over here to cover up all those areas so that nobody knows that we've painted into them. And it makes it look like there's all kinds of depth going on. And let's just insert one right here too. There. There, that's good. There. And what the heck, with our 2-inch brush we can also start painting some of these darker shapes in here. Like I might want to pull out a little bit of the yellow green and get some cadmium yellow, and I can start doing all kinds of crazy things, inserting little bushes here and there. Yeah, that's nice. And just like that. And if I want, I can take a little bit of my Indian yellow too. I can insert that too, wherever. Start doing all kinds of interesting things wherever you see dark color that needs a little friend. All these little dark leaves, they need something to help them shine, and that's why yellow exists, to help all the colors of nature shine. Here we go. Over here. There. Now, I don't want to get too far into it yet, but I do want to cover some of these areas where we have all the dirt and stuff. And I can just, that's good. Cover up a little bit of it, get some more yellow. Maybe even get some sap green in there. We're getting all kinds of colors. You get a little bit of sap green, a little bit of that cadmium yellow, maybe a little bit of yellow ochre even. And you tap, tap, tap. There. Try not to kill all the dark areas though. Try not to kill all of them. Now for this tree, we're going to want to get out a big palette knife. And what I think I want to do is I want to take a little bit of this naphthol red, and I want to pull it out, and I want to add a little bit of white. Actually, a lot of white. I want it to be a very, very light color. I do not want it to be all that bright. If it's too red, it's going to look weird. If it's too red, it's going to look a little weird. But as long as it's got a fairly light value to it that you get by adding a lot of white, it will look good after we apply it. I think this is almost to the point that I like. And even if it is a little bright, that's still okay, because painting a lot of the time is about context. A lot of people don't realize that. Sometimes things look good on the palette, but it's not until you put it on the canvas that it starts to look good. And what I'm going to do here is take a little bit. Ooh, that tree is on fire, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's okay. We'll use another color to balance it out. And boy, what I'm doing is I'm just following the grooves of the bark. I'm imagining where all this bark is going to be. And I'm just making up things as I go. Where do I think there's going to be a separation in the tree? Ooh, probably maybe right here. Real bright color that we're using. Real bright. Very beautiful. Such a beautiful red. Now, I don't want to overmix it. Okay, we really want this tree to stand out against everything else that we've done. And I think this is going to make our tree ever more interesting. Now, here's a separation. We want to keep some shadow area. We don't want to cover all of it, because in the shadow area, we're going to use a blue to balance things out, and it's going to look really, really cool. Yeah, it is. It's going to look so good after it's done. I know that this might seem a little garish, but if it is a little garish for your taste, you can always dull the red down with some burnt umber. That's totally fine. Or you can just use burnt umber for it. If you really want something that looks very natural, that's totally fine too. It's your painting. You paint it how you want. This is your painting. You do not have to paint things the way that I do. I'm only helping you to figure out how you might do things. How might I do it? This isn't a gospel. It's not a guide that's telling you how you must paint. It's simply showing you how you can paint, if you really want to. Now, let's get a little bit up here. There. That is looking very, very cool. I'm quite enjoying this, if you can't tell already. Now, branches have a funny way of light hitting them from the underside if they're angled up just right. So bear that in mind when you're painting a tree. Sometimes light hits trees a little funny. Trees are weird. They got their own way of doing things. Sometimes they got a mind of their own. You think that they're going to do things one way, and then, well, they go and do them another. Yeah, that's a tree for you. They come in all shapes and sizes just like us. You just gotta wonder sometimes, what is a tree thinking with all of its crazy grooves, with all of its shapes and limbs? I wonder if big trees feel a sense of superiority like big people do. Well, maybe not all people, but I imagine some people must. I don't think about that sort of thing too often. Okay. Let's get a little bit over here. Wow, this red is really screaming, isn't it? A little bit. A little bit. I might have gone too far with this. Might have gone too far. But I'm okay with it. I'm just having fun. I think that's probably the most important part of painting, is having a good time. Of course, if someone's paying for your work and they want you to tone it down a little bit, I guess you should probably listen to what they have to say, because they are signing the checks. So, but when you are doing your own paintings, you can do it however you want, whatever you feel like. And up here, I'll just insert a little bit more red, and a little bit more red over here. Yeah, that's good. A little bit over here too. There. That is so nice. Oh, I'm feeling a little bit of red over here too. There. There. That's nice. Now, this particular trunk is not going to be covered in any red because it's very much in shadow. Because the big part of the tree, this big tree, is casting a shadow onto it. So, I'm not going to see much red on that one. No red highlight. Now let's get a little bit of phthalo blue. And I want a little bit of a mid-value blue. I don't want it too light and I don't want it too dark. If you need to, take your palette knife and put it up against your tree and make a judgment how you think it looks. I think that this is looking pretty good. I might add just a smidge more white. Just a smidge more. Not too much. Not too much. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That might be too much. There. I think that looks pretty good. I think that looks pretty good. So let's there, pull it out, cut a little bit off, and now we can get to the business of placing a little bit of shadow on it. And we do the same thing that we did with the red, just creating some interesting bark. There. Now on the shadowy one, I want to keep it so that there's blue on the side facing the tree, but I want to keep it pretty dark over here. But over here, I think I want to take this and just there. I don't want to ruin all that red goodness. I want to keep things very light, very separated. There. That's good. Now, go over here, a little bit more bark. There. Where do I think it's all going to be? Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's see, over here. There. Try to pull it in from the side if you can. That makes it look a little barkier, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes you just gotta pull it in wherever you can get it. But if you can, get it in from the side that it's gonna be showing on, like so. Just like that. Now let's get a little bit right there. Let's get some up here. There we go. Just the way we like it. And some up here. And down here, let's get a little bit over this way. Wherever you think it should go. Wherever. It's fine. Wherever you think that blue should go, it's fine. Maybe a little bit right here. Down in all these areas. There. And that's probably enough, I think. Let's grab a lot of phthalo blue, a lot of alizarin crimson, and a lot of sap green. And let's just tap in. Actually, let's get a bit of Van Dyke brown too. We've used enough Van Dyke brown so far, so why not? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap in a bunch of darks where I think they should be. Because this tree is going to have all kinds of little hanging branches and stuff, and it's going to have all kinds of leaves hanging off of it in the foreground, and they're all going to be fairly bright. But I don't want to completely ruin everything that I've done, so I'm going to try to be a little conservative with things. And I think that's probably good enough on that area. Let's go over here and create some little something there. That's probably good enough too. There. Tell you what, let's go over here and insert a little bush. A little bit of Prussian blue, some crimson. Go over here, insert a bush over here. There. That's a good bush. I like that bush. That's the best bush in the whole painting. Now, I'm going to take my cadmium yellow, and I'm going to go up in here and just apply that cadmium yellow wherever it needs to go. All over. Remember that my bristles should bend up, so that creates all those interesting leaves. There. press it. Press it. There. And try not to destroy all your dark areas. It might be a little tough, but you can do it. There we go. And down here we can just insert a little something to cover up all these areas. There. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Let's insert there. There. A little bit up here too. What the heck? Let's insert a little there. Perfect. We've only got a little bit of time left, so let's take a little bit of yellow ochre, some burnt umber, and go along the edges here where there might be a little bit of land, because, well, there might be a beach, right? Imagine all those areas where there might be a little bit of sand and things sticking out there. There. Get a little bit of Van Dyke brown in there. The grass. Covered up foliage is covered up. And we'll just tap a little bit of cadmium yellow to the brush, and this. And we'll create some interesting bush shapes. There. And what the heck? Insert some darks in there. Just for the heck of it, huh? Yeah. We'll insert some darks. That looks good. There. That looks good. That looks good. Let's get a little bit of shadow back into one of these areas. We'll just get a little bit of black there. Black is always a good way to insert shadows back into things. And that's one way to do it. If it ever seems like the depth on your painting is getting a little askew, you can always insert shadows back into it. Now, things might look a little screwy after you've done it, but if you're careful, you can make it work for you. And here's what I'm doing, just tapping a little bit here and there. And what I want to do is get a little bit of that up here to create some separation between all the things that I've been doing. If I spread out this dark that I created, I can make my piece look a little more unified. But I don't want to spend too much time on this because we don't have much time left. I'm afraid that I have to go soon. But this is just a fun way to show you how you can do it. How can I insert darks back in my painting after I've already messed them up a little bit? How can I paint so thickly and then scrape it away? All these fun little things and the problems that go along with them and the way that we can solve them. It's also interesting, isn't it? There. I think that looks pretty decent. And I'm afraid it's time for me to go. I want to thank you for joining me, and I hope that you join me again for the next painting. Until next time, with love from me to you, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.